Hey guys, I'm Jim. I edit photos. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, I'm in On1 Photo Raw 2021 and I'm enhancing a landscape. Let me just show you the photo. Here it is. The base photo is fairly dark. This was a single exposure from a set of brackets, but I chose this one, which was the middle exposure, because the other one was too dark and the other one was too bright. So this is the one I'm using, and as you can see, it's too dark. I need to fix the brightness. I want to pop the colors. I want to do some stuff. So I'm going to do that here in On1. So let me get started. I am in tone and color on the develop tab. And the first thing I'm going to do is, oddly, add a little bit of contrast, even though it's kind of dark, but that's okay. I'm going to pull down the highlights a little bit as well, and I'm going to bump up the shadows a fair amount, which is obviously going to help. While I'm at it, I'm going to warm up the temperature some. Whoa, not that much. Let's see, something about like that. And also give it a little bit of bump in saturation and vibrance, which I just kind of like to do because I like colors. And already the photo's looking better. I mean, we've got a long way to go, but from that to that, you can see that a lens correction was applied as well. I'm now going to jump to the effects tab, and there's so many great filters you can use here. I'm going to start out with Tone Enhancer, and I'm going to do something very simple, which is basically just take the shadows and go really high with it. I'm going to about 90, and that's a lot. I wouldn't normally do that much, but I like that. I mean, I actually think it looks good. It was starting out very dark, as I said, but I think that's made a huge impact. So if you look at that before and after, now I've got visibility across the whole photo, which is a good first step in this filter stack because it's going to help me see what I want to do with all these other filters. So next up is going to be Sunshine, something I use a lot. I'm really enjoying this, this filter. And I'm going to give it a little bit more warmth, so maybe about a 15 or so, and a tiny bump in saturation as well. I like that. It gives it a nice warmth, but to me, the greens are getting too yellow. There's just a little bit too much yellow. We are going to fix that, and it may seem counterintuitive, but I like the look of what it's doing overall and how it's impacting kind of the color scheme, but the greens are getting a little too green, so we're going to work on that. And the first thing I'm going to do is hop into color balance, which is another fantastic filter. I'm going to go to shadows, and I'm going to take the hue to about 270 or so, which is solidly in the blues, and then drag the amount to like a 20, 22, something like that. And what I'm doing here, if you take a look at the before and the after, is I'm getting a little bit more blue tint in the water primarily. It's got really green and yellow kind of look, and with the addition of this color balance in the shadows, I think it's helped offset that a little bit, which has taken back some of what was done with the Sunshine filter. So I'm getting there. I still got some more work to do, but I like where I am so far. And the next thing I'm going to do is use the blur filter, and one of the things I like to do, and that's way too much, so the first thing I usually do is bring the opacity down to about 30. And it's a Gaussian blur. It's at about 30, and I'm going to leave it like that, but I'm going to mask this in. So I click on the masking icon, click on invert, make sure that I'm in paint in, which I am, and all I want to do is paint in this blur into the sky and the water. So I'm going kind of quick here around these edges. I recommend that you take your time. I'm going kind of quick, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing across the water. And really, that's just something I typically do, which is smooth out skies and water. And if you ask me why, it's just because I like it. There's no real reason. I like how it looks. You can always click on view, or you can hit the O key, which will show you or hide the mask from you. But that's what I did there. I just stuck some blur in the sky and water just because I like it. It's something I do pretty much on every photo. So now that I'm in the customization mode, I'm going to get another filter, and I'm going to get Tone Enhancer again. And that's one of the cool things in On1 is you can just stack these filters, even the same one. You can use it multiple times. So I used it down here to lift the shadows, and now I'm going to use it to bring up the detail and the clarity. So I'm going to pull those up a little bit, and all I'm trying to do is get a little bit more crunch, maybe not that much. Maybe I'll pull that back a little bit, but I want to get that like in the trees and the grasses and things. So once again, I'm going to click on the mask. I'm going to hit invert. I'm in the paint in mode. I'm going to shrink my brush a little bit, and all I'm going to do is put a little bit of this stuff that I'm adding, the clarity and the detail, in some of these things where I want to see a little bit more clarity and a little bit more detail. It's funny how that works, isn't it? So there we go. I'm just kind of painting it here in this bush, which is nice. It's giving it a little bit more pop, and maybe I'll hit that bridge a little bit as well, and something like that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead while I'm at it and just hit this edge of the mountain, give that a little bit of pop as well. Let me hit view, and I'm going to come clean up my mask a little bit. So something like that. I think that's fine. You can also hit the O key, as I said. And that's all I wanted to do, is just give a little bit of bump to that. Now that I've masked that in, I also see that it's a little bit dark, so I actually think I'm going to lift the exposure a tiny bit. I don't want to do too much because then the mask becomes very obvious. But if you do something really light and gentle, you won't really notice the edge of the mask. So let me turn that off and show you. There's the before. You can see it's a little bit darker and softer. And now after, it's a little bit more detail, a little bit more clarity. So I think it looks a little bit better. And I wanted to bring up some of those structure or some of that structure in those elements of the photo. And I was able to do that by using Tone Enhancer here for the second time. And now I've got just a touch-up edit to do. This is going to be the color enhancer. And really what I want to do is pull the temperature hard left. I'm going to go about 65, and it makes it really blue, and it takes away a lot of the green and yellow, which counterbalances a little bit of what I did with the sunshine filter. But I really like that look. I think the sky and the water are going together so nicely, and yet you still have the little pops of green like in the trees and the grasses on the far side, as well as here in the foreground. Now, there's a little bit too much saturation in the blue, so I'm going to click on the blue here in color range, and I'm going to take that saturation down like by about 10, just a little bit, just to pull that back. I don't want to overdo it or make it over blue. And if it's too blue for you, of course, I mean, it's obviously I just adjusted the temperature by dragging this, so I kind of like it at -65, but you know, obviously these edits are seasoned to taste. And the last two moves, I'm actually going to take the overall saturation down just a little bit, and then I'm going to bump up the vibrance just a little bit across the entire photo. I tend to do that some where I'll maybe reduce saturation but bump up vibrance. Saturation is really going to impact every color, whereas vibrance, in my opinion, it seems to take like the non-dominant colors and give them a little oomph, which I like because it really helps pop the photo. So let me show you what Color Enhancer did, because I think it really made a big impact on the photo. So there it is before, definitely more green and yellow and really kind of darker. And now a lot more blue, softer. I think the sky and the water go together really well. And changing that temperature really seems to have lightened the photo a little bit, even though I wasn't messing necessarily with the exposure values. But there it is before and after Color Enhancer. And that's a full edit, really powerful, simple moves, but allows you to really control the edit in your photo. And this was really all about enhancing this landscape. And I know it's got a man-made structure like a bridge and a tea house in it, but it is a landscape. There's a mountain, there's a lake, there's trees. Let me show you the before and after. So that's where we started. Way too dark, kind of blah, honestly. And I'd played with this photo a lot, and I'd never really gotten to something I liked until I did this edit here. But there's my after. I really like that. And if you do the sliding a little window here, you can see how much of an impact we had on the photo in really just a few short minutes, just taking advantage of some of the filters with specific masks, and of course some global enhancements over here on the Develop tab. That's how it worked for this one, my friends. Overall, very simple but powerful edits in On1 Photo Raw 2021. I'm having fun with it. Hope it gives you some ideas to use in your own photos. And thanks for watching, my friends. Have fun editing out there. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time, and adios.